Hello and welcome to the new lecture. Today we're going to speak a little bit about migration and specifically the Flyway tool that you can use for migration. So I have here default setup for the new project, Quarkus Maven plugin create, tech.do now, then the artifact ID will be migration Flyway, and then default we don't need it, but just in case. And I'll add actually a few more extensions. So the first one will be Flyway itself, and the second one will be Grpc. So we had a MySQL, I think, right? Yeah, so we had a MySQL. I think it's still up and running. We'll see it in a second. So this will again load everything that we need, and you can see that we have two extensions. So yeah, let's see if I have my MariaDB running. Okay, so I don't have it. So MySQL wasn't working. I started it. So if you have the same issue, again, Docker, you can call docker ps-a to see all the images that are all the instances that are not running, and then find the hash and just call it. And yeah, so let's open it up in IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, so I opened the project, let's actually go to the Maven for a second. And so you can see that we added two more dependencies called Grpc, MySQL, and Flyway. No changes in other structures, as you can see. So let's firstly go to the resources. We'll need to add one line here. So yeah, firstly, of course, we need to add the connection to our database. I had it here. You can copy it over from the previous resources, right? So we have MySQL, Grpc driver, and then localhost root 310, hello, username root password root, and the thread pool size. So let's actually call our Quarkus and see if it's working. So don't forget to go to the CD where we had migration Flyway, right? And call the Maven here Quarkus dev, Maven Quarkus dev. Let's start it and let's see if it's working correctly or not. So now migration should be off because we haven't specified that we want to run it. And yeah, you can see that we have a Graal connection. We have Grpc MySQL. So a Graal goes probably from the Grpc MySQL. I might be wrong. Maybe it's coming from Flyway. So we have Narayan and GTA as well, even though we don't have the Hibernate and Rest Easy. Yeah, so we don't need the JSON if you're interested. So yeah, so let's keep it off by now, and we need to add one more line. So we need to add Quarkus Flyway migrate at start equals true. So this line will specify that we want to run Flyway migration on the start of the app, right? So now I don't think it will work because we have any migration, but we can try to see how it will behave with the no migrations at all. I think it should drop the exception, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, so it failed because found no empty schema, but no schema history table. So this is the issue because we have not empty database, which is not correct, right? So so what we can do, we can actually go to the docker ps docker xs -ta aep bash and go to MySQL -user root password root, and so let's actually create database, and let's name it migration test, right? Something like this. Oops, yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so migration test. So let's name it like this. So we have migration test database, and we'll replace hello with migration test. Other than that, we have everything correct. And yeah, we can drop the access to the database and restart our Quarkus dev, our app. And yeah, so now, as you can see, it should show you that so creating schema history table, Flyway schema migration. So it's created a schema, but then current version of schema migration test empty schema. So yeah, so that's like this. So now it's like almost set up. And then next thing that you need to do actually, and this is really important to follow the guidelines. So you need to create a file which will be named like v and then version 100, for example, like this. Then you need to do 2 underscores and then description, initial description, something like this, and then SQL. So this is the basic guideline on how to name your migration Flyway. So you have a version and then the description and then the .sql. So yeah, so we have src main resources db migration and then VOO initial description. So here we can create a table, for example, create table, let's name it, I don't know, users. Yeah, so let's create a users ID integer, names, text, and that's okay. So we have this, and then we can insert into user values 1 test and then 2 test 2, right? Something like this. So we have this migration here, and now we can actually run our app from the Quarkus dev, and we can actually connect to our database as well. So you can see that it says that we have current version of schema was migration test empty schema, migrating schema migration test to version 100 initial description, and successfully applied 1 migration to schema migration test execution time, blah blah blah. So now we have this in mind. Let's actually connect to our database. Let's add the MySQL here, localhost 3310, root. Okay, so yeah, it will be faster actually to show you it here. So we have here hello database, right? And I think okay, we need to add a schema called migration test. Okay, so now we have the migration test folder, and you can see that we have two tables, Flyway schema history, and then the user itself. And you can see that we have 2 users, right? So now when you want to create a new schema, you just create a new file called v101 and then 2 underscores update users, right? Something like this, SQL. So then you can insert into users, what is it, user, right? Yeah, user. So values 3 another test, or you can append the table or do whatever you like, right? So now if we restart our app, you will see that we have 1 more migration, of course. So you can see that we have migrating schema migration to version 101 update users, and everything is fine. And of course you can go to users again and you see another test. So that's there. One more thing that you can do, of course, is go to the greeting resource, and near the greeting resource you can actually inject it right there, inject Flyway. So you have a Flyway right here, and so we can just hello and Flyway. So you can go info current and then get description, something like this, right? So yeah, so now if we go to our Postman and then go to hello, it should give us a little bit more information about the hello update users. So you can see the current state is update users. This can be really helpful if you want to create a dev environment with the current info about the status. You can moreover, you can also migrate on the fly. You can see that there is a migrate, undo, repair, validate, and clean. So you can do the migration manually if you want. That's if you don't have this migrated start true, right? So And yeah, so that's it. But there is one more thing that you can do with the Flyway, and that is, as we did with the data source. So you can put the users here like this, right? So you can create a new data source. I mean, different data sources per each database or whatever you like. And then you can inject them. You can do the same thing with a Flyway. So you can just name one users. The other will be, I don't know, maybe grading or something like this, right? So you can shift between them. And the only thing that you'll need to specify is a folder where the migrations will be. So you can like create new folder here and then call it users, and you'll need to point the Flyway to this can be done with the locations, and here you need to specify. So this will be the root of the resources folder. So you can say db migration users or something like this, right? So this is if you want to, and of course you can inject it as well as if needed. So yeah, now you know how to use Flyway. It is super easy. One more thing, and important actually, is that how to use it with the Hibernate. So you need to disable the migration of the Hibernate completely. So use a none option, because they will conflict, because you create, for example, if you use the migration and create a table manually, Hibernate will, of course, write an exception for this, and vice versa. So yeah, so just use none. And if you want to use migrations like this, and this is really actually important part, because with the Hibernate, it's not, you know, it's not as controllable as the Flyway, because you're not controlling the output of the function. Maybe you created users. For example, you created a user object and it's not as you wanted it to be, and then you need to roll back, and the same thing actually goes with the Flyway. So you create a schema, and then, but this is more verbose, right? So you can specify whatever you like in a SQL format, not like in some magic Java annotations. So yeah, now you know how to use migrations with Flyway. I'll see you in the next lecture.